McBride was an all-star for the 5th time in her career as Boston goes backdoor to Hull. Working on Williams. Hull gets it to go. And a foul.
Career high for you tonight. How'd that first half feel, especially with 18 and just 20 minutes of play?
I mean, it obviously feels good, I think, for me, just playing with confidence. We're missing people, so everyone's got to do a little bit extra, be a little bit more aggressive offensively. So that was my mindset going in, and obviously it feels good to see the ball go through the net.
Lexie Hull delivered the performance of her career. The Fever had momentum in their hands, and then watched it collapse. Indiana not only surrendered a massive third-quarter run, but also lost 2 more key contributors in Chloe Bibby and Odyssey Sims. They joined an already painful injury list that includes Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, and Aari McDonald. That's 6 rotation players gone, leaving the Fever dangerously thin in the middle of a playoff push. There was plenty of fight, no question, but the frustration outweighed the resilience. After the game, head coach Stephanie White praised Hull's aggressiveness, while Hull herself admitted how challenging it was to step up with the roster so depleted. At the same time, chatter began building around the coaching decisions that once again allowed a halftime lead to slip away.
Second all-star appearance was right here in Indianapolis back in July. Oh, looking inside for Boston. She will launch and knock down a 3. Lexie Hull's hit a pair. End of that game, but foul line continues to flummox Smith here this year. Here's Hull backdoor, puts on the brakes and lay it in. It's a Lexie Hull show here.
Lexie Hull's breakout showing turned into the unexpected heartbeat of the night. With Indiana's roster stripped down to the bare bones, she rose to the occasion and delivered the best performance of her young career. Hull poured in 23 points on an efficient 9 of 16 from the field, knocking down 4 of her 7 attempts from deep while logging nearly 37 grueling minutes. Facing a Minnesota squad loaded with depth and veteran presence, Hull never blinked. She carried herself with poise, stepping into the spotlight with full confidence and a clear sense of purpose.
Lexie, did you come into tonight kind of expecting to play darn near the whole game just with the injury situation and the personnel available?
Damn, you played 37 minutes.
I mean, you played a lot too, Kels. What did you play? 35. I mean, yeah, we're down people, so gotta suck it up, play a little tired a few minutes, and take in those timeouts as best we can. But yeah, I mean, we're down people, so everyone's got to do a little more.
Yeah. For you offensively, was the plan to kind of try and get some looks inside early to get yourself going and then start working from the outside, or is that just kind of how the game set itself up?
Just to read the defense, you know. I think I got some really good passes on the back cuts, and that's a testament to my teammates, you know, finding me, but keeping moving, just reading whatever they're given.
From the opening tip, Hull played like someone intent on proving she was more than just a role player. Her early threes dropped cleanly through the net, barely grazing the rim, and her sharp backdoor cuts caught Minnesota's defense sleeping. By halftime, she had already piled up 18 points, shouldering a huge chunk of Indiana's offense while the game was still being shaped. Most importantly, her buckets came in the moments that mattered, when the contest was still alive, not in empty minutes after the outcome was decided.
And in Chloe Bibby's absence, you'll likely see a lot of Turner on the floor here today as Lexie Hull launches and hits. It's a 3-point parade. Going in. Here is Hull. Look how aggressive Lexie Hull has been here in the first half. That was her 8th shot. Lexie Hull with all the confidence in the world. Petty, wide open. Oh, yeah.
What made Hull's night special wasn't just the points she piled up. It was how she earned them. She refused to be a one-note scorer. Hull darted through open lanes, battled on the boards, and kept defenders running just to stay with her. Indiana leaned on her more than usual, and she proved she could carry that weight. This wasn't about luck or a hot streak. Her energy and determination injected the Fever with the emotional spark they had been searching for. After the game, Hull said her focus was simply on reading the defense and making the right play, fully aware that with so many teammates out, she had to shoulder more responsibility than usual. Coach Stephanie White took note as well, praising Hull for her aggressiveness and, for the first time this season, truly hunting her own shots. That change in mindset proved to be the difference. Hull wasn't sitting back and letting the game find her. She went out and took control of it. For a stretch in the first half, the Fever looked alive in a way they hadn't in weeks. Hull Hull was knocking down jumpers, Kelsey Mitchell was generating offense, and every made basket had the bench exploding like they were on the edge of something big. Fans watching could feel it too. The confidence Hull played with spread through the team, creating the sense that maybe, just maybe, this group still had a punch left to throw. But even Hull's breakout couldn't mask the cracks around her. As good as she was, one player alone can't patch the gaps left by a roster gutted by injuries. Indiana needed Hull to step into the hero role, and she did. But the weight of everything else came crashing down fast. What looked like a spark in the first half collided with the same obstacle that's defined the Fever's season: attrition. Her big night stood out precisely because of how thin this roster has become. The injuries have hit in waves, leaving Indiana barely able to piece together a rotation.
In the first half for McBride, Hull catch and shoot, knocks down another. 18 for Hull.
Caitlin Clark has been sidelined since July 15th with a right groin injury. Sophie Cunningham's torn MCL required surgery. Sydney Colson's season ended with a torn ACL, and Aari McDonald was shut down with a foot issue. That's 4 players gone before this game even started. And then, in one night, the list grew longer. Chloe Bibby was pulled before tip-off with soreness in her left knee, and Odyssey Sims left in the fourth quarter, never to return, pending further evaluation. That stretch left Hull as the lone healthy wing and forced Indiana to piece lineups together on the fly. With Baby out, they lost one of the few forwards who brought balance, and Sims's exit stripped away the only veteran point guard left on the roster. The Fever had no choice but to lean heavily on young guards and recent hardship signees. When Sims asked out late in the game, it was Shea Petty, fresh on a 7-day hardship contract, who had to step in and run the offense.
Lexie Hull tonight, career high for her, just especially effective there early on. What were you seeing from her performance?
She was aggressive. I mean, she was hunting shots. She was aggressive to the rim. You know, she knew we needed another scorer on the floor, and because of the attention that Kelsey and AB get, she was getting free and she was hunting shots, and that's what we're going to need from her.
The irony? Bibby herself had only just been signed earlier this month. It was another glaring reminder of just how thin Indiana's bench has become. The ripple effects were immediate. Hull was forced into heavy minutes as the only wing available, while Brianna Turner and Nalissa Smith were pushed into tough matchups well outside their comfort zones. Possessions grew shaky, with guards unfamiliar in the system struggling to initiate clean sets. By the third quarter, the fatigue was visible. Basic ball movement stalled, and even when Aaliyah Boston fought to establish position inside, the entry passes were late, off target, or never came at all. Head coach Stephanie White acknowledged the problem afterward, pointing out the challenge of trying to integrate 2 new point guards in the middle of the season.
Turner with the offensive rebound. Hull is wide open and knocks down.
The disconnect showed. What once flowed naturally with Caitlin Clark now too often ended in rushed jumpers, broken plays, or careless turnovers. The strain showed on the defensive end as well. With players logging extended shifts and lineups constantly shuffled, fatigue set in. Rotations came late, and Minnesota capitalized on nearly every lapse. The mood around the Fever feels fragile. Fans and players know each new injury lands like another blow to their playoff hopes. Still, the group is looking for small ways to rally. The MVP Kelsey shirts worn pre-game were one such gesture, a spark of pride and proof they haven't stopped fighting. But pride doesn't replace bodies, and the reality is the same. The load has fallen squarely under what's left of the core, with veterans and emergency signees alike scrambling to fill the gaps left behind. Even with everything stacked against them, a few Fever players managed to rise above the chaos.
Just obviously Chloe Bibby, a late addition to the injury report. Just when did that injury happen, or do you know the severity at this point?
Felt something during pregame, and so holding her out as a precaution. We don't know anything, so hopefully we'll get some more information tomorrow when she can be seen.
Had she been dealing with any soreness or anything like that in previous days, the week leading up to tonight?
Yeah, I think everybody's dealing with soreness at this point in the year. But yeah, I had been dealing with a little bit of knee soreness, and again, just want to make sure that we're cautious and figure out what's going on before she gets out there.
Lexie Hull stole the show with a career-best 23 points in 37 minutes, but she wasn't the only one carrying the load. Kelsey Mitchell once again drove the offense with her steady scoring. Aaliyah Boston battled to anchor the paint, and newcomer Shea Petty injected energy in her Fever debut. Together, they became the backbone of a roster fighting to stay afloat under circumstances that felt impossible. Kelsey Mitchell once again looked every bit like the engine of this team. She paced all scorers with 27 points, handed out 5 assists, and knocked down 5 of her 7 attempts from beyond the arc, forcing Minnesota to key in on her every time she crossed half court. Before tip-off, her teammates honored her by arriving in MVP Kelsey shirts, a rare but fitting recognition for a player who's become the franchise's cornerstone. Afterward, Mitchell admitted how much the gesture meant, saying, "They make me feel like I'm important to them and vice versa. That value means everything to me." With Clark sidelined and the roster running thin, she lived up to those words on the floor, refusing to let Indiana fold, even as the defensive pressure kept building. Aaliyah Boston's numbers weren't flashy, but they were reliable. She finished with 15 points and 6 rebounds, often holding down the front court with little to no rotation help.
What do you know about Odyssey after, I think she left the game and didn't return? Is she injured? What's up with that?
Yeah, no, we don't know anything yet. She's going to get evaluated tomorrow, so we'll see.
With regards to Odyssey, do you have any ideas of what it was she tweaked? Was it a groin or any?
I have no idea. I just heard her say I need a sub, and so I got Shea up there.
Her steady production gave Indiana a much-needed interior presence, even if some critics pointed out that her defense lacked the dominant edge usually expected from an all-star. Still, in a game where the Fever had almost no margin for error, Boston's ability to grind through heavy minutes kept them from being completely overrun in the paint. Then came the surprise of the night. Shea Petty, signed on a hardship contract, had barely practiced with the team before being thrown straight into game action. And yet, she made an impact. Petty chipped in 10 points, knocked down 3 of her 4 attempts from deep, and showed a level of aggressiveness that earned praise from coach Stephanie White afterward. Her composure on catch-and-shoot opportunities gave Indiana a much-needed spark. Still, when it came to handling full-point guard duties, running sets, and controlling tempo, her inexperience showed. That part of her game is still very much a work in progress. Hull's hot shooting, Mitchell's leadership, Boston's steadiness, and Petty's debut gave the Fever stretches where it looked like they might just rise above the circumstances. It raises a compelling question. Which of these role players deserves a bigger share of minutes as the season moves forward? But those flashes weren't enough to swing the outcome. Indiana's downfall didn't come from who stepped up. It came from what collapsed after halftime. That's when the momentum they had built was ripped away, and the night shifted into a spiral they couldn't climb out of. The collapse wasn't only about tired legs. It highlighted how coaching choices or the absence of adjustments can swing a game. Indiana went into halftime with the lead, but came out flat while Minnesota pounced. The Lynx exploded for a 32-7 third quarter, wiping out everything the Fever had built in the first half and seizing control in just a few minutes. Minnesota didn't do anything complicated, but they executed with precision. They spread the floor, attacked in straight lines, and crashed the offensive glass with intent. Indiana couldn't keep up. Defensive rotations came late, box outs disappeared, and Aaliyah Boston was left battling multiple bodies under the rim. Possession after possession, the Lynx earned second chances and wide-open rhythm jumpers that tore the Fever apart. What stood out most was Indiana's lack of adjustments. The coverages stayed the same, the defensive pressure stayed light, and Minnesota kept exploiting it. That's where the focus turned back to the bench. Fans and analysts quickly pointed to head coach Stephanie White. Once again, Indiana had a promising first half, only to unravel after halftime with no visible tweaks to the game plan. And this isn't an isolated incident. It's become a pattern all season. Early momentum fades the moment opponents adjust, and Indiana has yet to find an answer. After the game, White didn't dodge the questions. She admitted there were breakdowns in personnel defense and pointed to turnovers as a key turning point. She also noted that Indiana is trying to integrate new point guards who've barely practiced with the team, which has made both offensive sets and defensive communication less precise than they need to be. That explanation provides context. This isn't only about sluggish decisions on the sideline, it's also about survival with players learning roles on the fly. Still, fans' patience is wearing thin. They watch Boston trapped under the rim against 2 defenders, see closeouts arriving a step late, and notice the same third-quarter collapses dictating games week after week. Yes, the injuries make everything more difficult. But when the same flaws repeat themselves without clear adjustments, frustration only grows louder. The reality is the clock on Indiana's season is running out. The Fever sit in 6th place, but as Athlon reported, that cushion is razor thin, just half a game ahead of 7th and barely a game and a half clear of 9th. That's the danger zone. Every loss like this chips away at their playoff chances, and the margin for error is almost gone. So the question turns to you. Is this on the coach for being too slow to adjust, or is it a roster so broken by injuries that it can't be judged fairly? Drop your take below, because while this chapter leaves more doubts than answers, one player's performance still gave fans a storyline worth hanging on to. Lexie Hull's career night wasn't just about numbers on a box score. It was a glimpse of what this roster could be if fully healthy. Fans finally got to see her step into the spotlight. Paired with Kelsey Mitchell's 27 and Aaliyah Boston's steady 15 and 6, there were flashes of a foundation worth believing in. But the urgency remains. The Fever see Minnesota again on Sunday, and back-to-back losses could erase their slim playoff cushion. Lexie gave fans a reason to believe. Now the question is whether Indiana can prove they know how to finish. If you're backing Lexie and the Fever, drop Lexie Show in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a moment.